Hello, welcome back to the channel. And today I'm gonna be going over my NFL weekly sits for NFL Week 15. At the quarterback position, I have Lamar Jackson versus the Packers because I think the Packers are gonna be able to put enough pressure on Lamar and that offense in general to make Lamar have a bad game because Jair Alexander will also get Marquise Brown, the number one receiver, to cover. And I think he'll lock down Marquise Brown with no trouble. And I have Carson Wentz versus the New England Patriots because I think Carson Wentz really has not played well. And, well, in recent weeks, I don't think he's played well. So I would take the Patriots defense to kind of step up this week. And if they're available in your league, I would go ahead and pick them up. And let me go back for a quick. Sorry for that. I also think Carson Wentz hasn't been the best passer this season, so that's another one of my reasons. Sorry for that again. That's my mistake. Um, Ben Roethlisberger versus the Titans. I think the Titans defense is gonna step up and force Big Ben into situations that he doesn't want to be in and cause him to throw interceptions. Obviously, not what you want to do when you're a quarterback, so that should be an interesting game to watch. Matt Ryan versus the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers have had a dominant defense in the pass rush department this season. And also, I think the Falcons' offense has been very bad this season. So I think that 49ers defense is kind of going to eat up against Matt Ryan and force him into situations where he's going to throw picks. Kind of the same scenario as Ben Roethlisberger. I have Russell Wilson versus the Rams. I think that Rams defense has played to their potential, and I think Von Miller's getting into the groove with this game, which is going to cause the Rams to get more pressure on Russ and allow him not really to throw because Lockett has COVID and DK Metcalf hasn't practiced so far today on Thursday, December 16th. But really hoping that he can play well, but I just don't think that is a possibility for Russell Wilson this week. The running backs to sit for my top 5, I have Saquon Barkley versus the Dallas Cowboys. I think Saquon is a great running back. He's probably in my top 10. I've always liked him as a player. He used to be my favorite player. But, considering his injuries, it's become Justin Jefferson. But I think really what you have to take into account is Saquon Barkley is that main part of the Giants' offense when he's healthy. And the Giants know that, so they're going to try and take that away, and I think they do so successfully. Because I think the Cowboys have a really good scheme going on. They got DeMarcus Lawrence still, Randy Gregory, Michael Parsons. I think that's going to completely shut down the run game. Josh Jacobs, I think he kind of, versus the Browns, could have maybe 8 to 10 points varying because I think Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, Malik Jefferson, I think all those guys are going to play well, and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, I think on the defense, the Browns are going to be stout. And that's going to cause Josh Jacobs to not get as many carries, and they're going to lean more towards Kenyon Drake. Because Kenyon Drake is technically a running back / receiver because he gets a lot of actual routes in the passing game, like screens and stuff. So that could lead to Kenyon Drake having a big game, and Josh Jacobs going to bust him this week. Michael Carter versus the Dolphins. I think Michael Carter. I think he could play well. I mean, coming back off of IR, I don't know if that injury is really gonna affect his play or not. So I think it would be safer to sit him versus the Dolphins, as the Dolphins, in my mind, have been quite good against the run. And if they just put any sort of pressure on Zach Wilson, the Dolphins are gonna have a field day. I have James Robinson versus the Texans, as Urban Meyer was fired today. I think that interim head coach, which was the offense coordinator, is going to want to get James Robinson involved versus the Texans. But at the same time, I think the Texans are now, after Urban Meyer's firing, are really just going to key in on James Robinson and Marvin Jones, which is not that much to key in on. So I think they'll have a field day again, like most of these defenses. I have Antonio Gibson versus the Eagles. This is kind of a hot take. I think he has not really played to his full potential this season. And I think the Eagles, that's going to be the one main thing that they're really going to try to stop. I think Fletcher Cox, Derek Barnett, guys like them, I think they're going to be able to put a stop to Gibson's, I think it's 2-week stretch where he's had decent games. If that, I mean, I think he busted last week, but we're just going to throw that out of the window here, and I think he'll bust again if that was the case. And I just think Washington's offense has been way too inconsistent with his carries and catches, targets, pardon me. So I think that would be a good sit option, and maybe play, you could say, Drake, honestly, instead of Gibson. Kenyon Drake. My wide receivers to sit, I think Chase Claypool versus the Titans. I think after his little dancey dance and wasting the clock versus the Vikings, I think Mike Tomlin's really coached him up to not do that, but I think Claypool really is going to get keyed in on against the Titans. I don't think he's going to get any over-the-top catches over Kevin Byard and Amani Hooker. I think those safeties are quite good. And I just don't think Chase Claypool is really going to get open that much because I think Christian Fulton is going to be on Claypool. And I think Christian Fulton is a great slot corner, and Claypool can play the slot or outside. But I think Fulton is going to have full responsibility of Claypool, and Claypool I just don't think is the best receiver this week that you could play. Cole Beasley versus the Panthers. Cole Beasley, I think he's played decently this season, but the Panthers, the corners are insane. They got Gilmore, they got Dante Jackson, they got J.C. Horn, they got C.J. Henderson, they got A.J. Boye. They have a plethora of corners to go through if Beasley starts, getting a couple yards and a couple targets at a time. So I just think Cole Beasley at max this week is going to get 12 points, and I don't think that's really worth a start. With a risk of maybe getting a better play later in the game. So, yeah. My third kind of bust this week, I think, is going to be Brandon Ayuk versus the Falcons. I think Isaiah Oliver could play very well against Brandon Ayuk, as Debo's going to get in the main targets, the target share, and everything, even getting running back drills. And I think Ayuk is going to be disregarded this week. I think a max Ayuk gets 15 because he could get one touchdown, and it could be like a 20-yard touchdown catch, and then he only needs barely any more catches in a half-point PPR league to really get that. Marquise Brown versus the Packers. I think Marquise Brown is going to be one of the worst receivers this week. I think even with his speed, Jair Alexander is going to keep up, and I don't think really Marquise Brown is going to get anywhere over 7 fantasy points, so I think you need to bench him in all of your leagues. He is not a good play this week. Mike Evans versus the Saints. He hasn't really played well against the Saints this year, which has only been one game, but Marshawn Lattimore kind of wants some beef with the receivers now, so he's kind of becoming a Jalen Ramsey, and I respect that. I think that is quite valuable in this week, that you got to trash talk and really aggravate your opponent and maybe even lock him down and get him really frustrated and make him get penalties, really. And I think Lattimore is going to have a field day, which is kind of weird saying for a DB against Mike Evans, because I think Mike Evans at max gets 50 receiving yards and maybe 5 catches, which would equal, I would believe 8.5 fantasy points, which is not good. It's a boom or bust Mike Evans every week, and I think this week he's going to bust. My tight ends, this is one of my more difficult categories because I don't really pay attention to the tight ends because it's not really my favorite position to watch. And Hunter Henry versus the Colts. I think the Colts have an astounding defense, and I think they can play up to potential and eliminate Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith out of that game plan for the Patriots. Evan Ingram versus the Cowboys. Evan Ingram has just been not a good tight end this year. He's dropped a lot. Just saying if he plays, because I haven't really followed the Giants. So I honestly have no idea if he plays. So, yeah. And I think the Cowboys' defense has, again, played well, and I think they will do so against the Giants in general. Noah Fant versus the Bengals. I think Noah Fant could get a 15-point game, which is a lot of points for my tight end. But I think Fant most likely is not going to have as good a game as maybe ESPN or guys like that are predicting, because he plays the Bengals, and I think the Bengals are going to key in on Fant because it's not like the Bengals have it's not like the Broncos have that many guys to throw to. And I think they're going to shut down Fant with Logan Wilson, Akeem Davis-Gator, and maybe even, I think it's Von Bell could even get into the box. So that could work well for the Bengals on defense. So I don't really think Noah Fant is going to get as many opportunities as the ESPN and other analysts are kind of predicting. Tyler Higbee versus the Seahawks. He really hasn't exploded in the last 2 weeks, and I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to really contain him. I think their first priorities are going to be Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham, which is going to limit Higbee's targets. So I don't really think Higbee is going to get any more than 8 points because that target share is going to be really low. He might get a touchdown, but I would say it's a safe sit in my mind. I don't really think he's going to do good. On to Austin Hooper versus the Raiders. I think he is a versatile player. I think he can be a great tight end in this league if the Browns knew how to use him right. And I think the Raiders can take advantage of the fact that, they don't have Darren Waller, so, excuse me, I didn't mean to say that, but Austin Hooper versus the Raiders. I think the Raiders linebackers, Nick Kwiatkowski and Corey Littleton, have played pretty well. And I think in coverage is going to play well this week, too. And I think Austin Hooper really isn't going to get targets because I think it's going to be Landry, Schwartz, and really Donovan Peoples-Jones getting the targets. So I don't really see a big game coming out of Hooper or any other of these tight ends or any of these players. I'll go back in the list. So if you guys want to pause and see what kind of players you would like to sit, you can do so. I would like to thank you for watching this list if you are doing so. It's just really nice of you to even think of watching me. So, I hope you guys had fun watching, and goodbye. Have a good day.